So, I just want to talk about what I think about horror and where it's going wrong. We always think that horror needs to have this ooh, boof at you, but it doesn't. Silent Hill is the perfect recommendation. Not the movie, the games. It was completely bone chilling. And I'll tell you why. When I first played, I was like, oh, Silent Hill, am I running up a hill or something? Because I'm a fucking kid. Then when I saw this psychological horror, I'm thinking crap's going to be jumping out at me. No. You see, when it's not even scary, it's still scary. I don't know what's about it. It's like the part when they're showing James's girlfriend behind them bars. You don't know what side of the bars you're on, what side she's on. You're only seeing it from one perspective, and what she's saying, and her words. And for me, when I got older and I replayed it, that was bone chilling. When I was younger, the monsters sort of scared me because I've never seen stuff like Team Silent made. Because they had to do something so outside the box. They didn't make zombies, werewolves. They made their own thing, like flesh monsters or whatever. They were terrifying. Even when it got farther into the series, they've always thought outside the box. Not inside the box of where I can go. And they sort of fell off of that with The Room. But to me, it's always... I don't even consider 3 that good. Everyone loves 3. To me, it's 2. 2 is like the best one. It may not be the most best graphical one, and probably one of the worst, but it's the best of a narrative. So James gets back from the military in his head. His wife is missing, and for 2 years he gets a note from her, and the reports say she's dead. But this is in his head, his Jacob's ladder, I would have to say, and it leads him down this cycle. And as he's going through it, you're going through it with him. That's where most horror get the aspect wrong. They picture too much on. We gotta have these jump scares. You have to make your character feel more realistic for you to care, or maybe even your story. It has to have a sense of you have to start from beginning to middle to end, or throw that all out the window like they did on that and sort of open it up as it goes. But it always has to start out like a story. If you skip, it has to sort of have an origin. Everything's not going to be Slender. They have to realize that. Not every goddamn thing created is going to be the next Slender. It's just not. It's not how horror works. Slender worked because of the unknown of him. It was like when them 2 pictures came out of Slender, it was like, what's he capable of? What's he going to do? Just a man in a suit with no face. That's how we worked. Either you give away nothing, how that worked, or you build up to it. The Boogeyman failed for one reason and one reason only. It was too goddamn cliche, and it followed the lines too well with every other jump scare bullshit. But as I was saying, if you want to create this atmosphere of holy shit, man, I'm terrified. Like, there's only been one movie so far that did that actually had jump scares, and that was The Woman in Black. Because Daniel Radcliffe, I don't care what anyone says, that movie was good because you felt like, because it had a backstory. Like, here's how it started. It started out with him going to the town as a lawyer to go investigate the house. The whole town people are telling him it's haunted. In his head, not haunted, I don't believe in that shit. But You knew. You're like, don't do it, man. Don't go there. That place is super haunted. Come on, man. Don't do it. It's cursed. He goes anyways because he has to do it to feed his child. Whatever. So, ta-da. That's what goes on. But then as things start to unfold is when, like, there has to be ups and downs. It can't just be complete scares. It can't just be boring. You have to feel your character. Your character has to put in some emotion. Some. It's possible to do it with the total badass and make it scary still. But they still have to feel real. They can't be... Like with an action movie too. It has to have the feels. You have to... You want to be able to relate to your to the antagonist and the main antagonist too, in a way. Like Silent Hill itself was the main antagonist. It's like the Sharon was not hell itself, but she's the antagonist, and it's sort of like the pressure putting on of we need an antagonist. Why not make someone like the queen of the town? She's running this hell in your own mind, of everyone's mind, but you're creating it. If you go to Silent Hill, you will see it in a totally different way. I'll picture this way. So, James, the character, meets a nurse. The nurse, and she has some daddy issues. Not going into that, and she's seeing this whole world differently because they're both trapped in the same dimension when there's different doors. Picture this. Every door, there's a separate reality, a space. Are you sure the only me is me? Are you sure the only you is you? Was a quote from Silent Hills. They were gonna go into the whole backstory and dimension bullshit with Silent Hill, but Konami decided to try to go this way, that way. I won't get into that in this video. I want to focus on the aspect of horror. Horror can be done right in any form of aspect. It just has to have not these indie bullshit trying to be a Slender clone, not copying. It has to break a mold. Like, they're this game Inky, whatever. It's like, it could be a Mickey Mouse ripoff, but it's still following like its own coat of paint. It has to have its own origins. It can't just be total ripoff everything. Not saying it can't be done right, it's just barely done right. All these Silent Hill clones need to stop and think, how did Silent Hill get out the box instead of copying it? Maybe movies need to also do the same and stop being like the next generation, the next Freddy Krueger. Look at this. Get Out is going to do great. And all these movies that are sort of making their own way will do better than copying all these molds and all these molds and all these molds. You don't need a mold to get started. I'd say start out with some water and then add the clay. Crazy enough said. Crazy enough said. Another thing is about horror. In video games, not in movies. I'll get into that in a second. In video games, if even... It has to convey the perfect story. I like War of Rose. Most people hate it because of controls. I loved it. I knew it was hard as hell, but it was like there was so much pain and emotion in the character that you wanted her to get out of this evil place, even though she's trapped. You just want her to get out. It's like, this is hell on earth. This is like almost as bad as Silent Hill joke. And these people are evil and they deserve nothing but to die, but I won't do it. And you just have to keep on running throughout the whole game. It's like one of the first games where you don't have to kill your main bad guy to begin. Too many games do that. You want to build up the villains. Strangely enough, they all went down in Blimp, Won't spoil down in Blimp. That's all I'm saying. You'll have to play for yourself if you can. If you can find it, I can't even find it. This is the theme song from it. It's like they actually used to make good songs for these horror games. I don't even remember the good theme song from a horror game. That's how fucking stupid they all are. The AAA horror games, where'd they go? We have like a few. I mean, few to none. It's like the few to none is few to none coming out. Horror is just Resident Evil, and that's it. We just have survival horror. Where is the psychological horrors and thriller horrors and the slasher horrors? And I thought we'd be at a point of AAA games where I would enjoy getting the PS4. I'm waiting for a system to come out that has a genre of games. Not, hey, PS4, good for them adventure games. Xbox, good for them cars and action games. Wii, good for those story-driven games. What happened to you have the feels or something, you know? I remember I used to feel a character. Like, I used to be like, oh my god. Like, even with, like, Resident Evil, it's still, even the bad ones, you still, like, you had a drive to get out of this evil, to get out of the horror. And even if you don't succeed, some horror games you don't, that's just how they go. But that's not the point. That was the point of Silent Hill. You're not getting out. You're stuck here. There's no out. Every ending. But there has to be a middle ground between, do we put all this money into this fucking game, even though it's copy cut out Call of Duty one after the other? I have not seen, I mean, people love Death Space. I hated that shit. I think it just rip off Predator. It is. I mean, no one wants to come in the game like an OPG mechanic killing the thing. It would have been better if you would have got your character and he would have been a piece of shit at it and got better. You know what I'm saying? Like, if the character went in to the SOSET thing, it would have been like, he'd have been like really bad at he'd have been really bad at his fighting the evil or the aliens. Like, that's what was so good about Aliens at the beginning, was they thought they can make an alien clone and make it good, and everyone loved it. Everyone did love it, but it wasn't quite survival horror as much as it was. I would call it just as bad as probably Resident Evil 6. Maybe Resident Evil 5 without the awesome Ryan in it, you know. Or Wesker. You have to have that antagonist. Like, they could do it right. I mean, System Shock, fucking amazing. Because there was that, things do better with an antagonist. Not just, here's Alien, kill it. There has to be, it would have been better if, like, every hive mind was driven by an AI or hive mind alien. So, like, Metroid, maybe create your own, like, Metroid type hive mind type thing, but make it look human and make it trick you the whole game, and then bam, that thing was evil. Like, I thought what they were gonna do was, with the thing you're talking to in the intercom, was just straight evil. Was just straight up manipulating you. It manipulated you in defeating the aliens, but it was just a simple human. That's fucking dumb that he got angry at that. I mean, he got angry at the fact he was expendable. He was a mechanic on a spaceship. He should have, I'm expendable to begin with. I'm on this spaceship. Especially because it wasn't an unknown species. Unless he was sitting under a rock listening to music his whole life, sitting there listening to his stupid music. I mean, he would have knew that there was aliens and they could do that. I mean, Avi. When he first found out, but then he turned out to be so OP. It'd have been better if, like, maybe you started out the game with no knowledge of them, and they just would jump at you randomly, and they would do these creepy transformative things, but they rushly transformed, and I'm like, they could have made the transformation slow and painful. Like, imagine this. If in Dead Space, if they would sit there in like weird transformative pain for a little bit and then go on rage and say shit like, I can't get you, but with like, and like they start out angry, but then they just some way rage at you, like their animal instinct turns on, more like alien instinct. That's how you do that right, I guess. That's just my input. Another thing is, stop making these fucking Slender clones. Slender. There won't be another Slender without Slender. Slender will be the only Slender. Well, can't say that. There isn't. Stop copying Slender. Stop copying Silent Hill. Think of your own idea. Like, Jeff the Killer was original. That got his own dumb game. It wasn't that good, but still, Jeff the Killer. There's so much you can do. Do something like Marilyn Manson a game. Something dumb. There's all these serial killers out there. Just watch American Horror Story. You're bound to find a character. Hey, they haven't got their own game. Ta-da! Well, that's my start, and this is my end of my horror genre. I'm gonna keep it going. Well, next time I'll do anime and the fields of anime, how to do anime right, my thing. Well, I'll end it out with my favorite horrors games. I would have to go with Silent Hill 2, director's cut probably, maybe not, I'm a piece of shit. Rule of Roses, it's been so long since I played some good horror games. It's been like PS2, PS3 era. Oh fuck. Let me start that over. That's what I messed up. Silent Hill 2, Rule of Roses. Oh, Clock Tower 3. Clock Tower 1 for the PC. Resident Evil maybe 1 and maybe 4, even though it wasn't quite scary. For my indie horror games, I would have to not even go Slender for scary. I'd have to go with the original Amnesia. Slender, The Arrival, if you can get it free. What else? Bendy right now is pretty. I got scared. Ooh, I can think of all of them. The Grudge 2 for the Wii. That's the only Wii game. Then there's. I should have put this together better. Let me just end it up with. Don't always look at the ratings. They suck. Sorry about the jumbled mess. Psh, out.